Welcome to the Daily Pour podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Lopez, and this is the place where we dive into all the big and small moments, from challenges to celebrations and every single thing in between. Each week, we will have heartfelt conversations, grow in faith, and pour out a daily dose of encouragement that's just for you, my friend. You are always welcome here, so get ready to laugh, learn, and leave inspired. We're pouring out the good stuff right here, right now. Let's go. So today, you guys, I'm excited to introduce you to a friend of mine. He is Matthew Hooper, the owner of Track 3 Leadership Development, a facilitator of the Leadership Hub in Sutter Creek, California. Thanks for being with us today.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited for our listeners to hear all about Matthew Hooper. Can you tell us, who is Matthew Hooper?
Okay, who is Matthew Hooper? Well, let's see. First and foremost, I'm a follower of Jesus. I think I would want to just put that out there first. That's the most important relationship in my life. And so I would just start with that. And then secondly, I'm third of 7 kids, grew up in a big family. So I'm a family man for sure, with my sibs, and both my parents have passed at this point, but still very much deeply value family and the connections there, which flows into my immediate family. So I'm married to the lovely Sheila, who you know, and she's amazing. And so I'm married, been married for 22 years, 23 in January. And then I have 3 lovely kids, Annie, Brianna, and Jaren. Annie's 19, Brianna's 17, a senior in high school, and Jaren is 13, an 8th grader. So they make my life so full and fun and challenging at times, of course. I call parenting an extreme sport, so there's nothing quite like it. Marriage changes a lot. Kids change everything. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, you're living in it.
Live it. Yeah, I'm still there. So that's me.
Yeah. What would you say are a few of your favorite things, your hobbies, interests?
Yeah, well, I think favorite things, hobbies, interests, and then I probably should talk about my work a little bit more, but we'll get there. It'll come out in all your answers. As we have a conversation here. I love being outside, and like a good long walk on a cool Saturday morning is like one of my favorite things to do. I just love being outside and just recreating in water, on trails, at the beach, wherever. I just love being in creation. It's like the one thing that physically can really recharge me. But I also love just exercise and in by myself with Sheila, in group spaces like Motivate in Sutter Creek. You know, I love exercise and fitness and all of that. And then I also love just learning. I mean, I'm constantly more listening to books now than actually reading them. But the good ones I tend to get a hard copy of too, just to lean into it a little more. But just constantly, I love learning and keep taking in information that's kind of keeping my system open rather than closed. Yeah. So those would be some of my...
Yeah, I love that, because I feel like as we live our lives, that's the goal. We need to grow more, learn more.
Yes.
None of us have arrived. We're all on this journey. You talked about in the intro that the most important relationship you have is your relationship with Jesus. Would you share that journey, how that began, where that has led you in your life?
Yeah, sure. So I grew up in a Christian family my whole life. And so I was around the church. And so probably, I couldn't even tell you how many times, but I invited Jesus into my life, because I was like, oh my gosh, I need God, I better, or else, you know. But it was when I was 11, I had a moment of more awareness of my real need for like saving grace, for God's loving grace extended to me through Christ and his life, his death, his resurrection, the forgiveness of sins, and just my sins in particular. And so when I was 11, I had a spiritual experience at a Leon Patillo concert, and that was kind of like a moment where I think I was really felt regenerated, like the Spirit was now with me. I'm moving through life with God rather than apart from God by his Spirit. And so from there, it was a journey through my high school years, kind of a little bit of a mixed bag, one foot in, one foot out, until I went to Biola University. And when I went there, my heart had really been moving towards God. I was 21, came in as a transfer student, and then God, I would say, like really got a hold of me and kind of took me down and kind of I would say some just like unhealthy or disordered patterns, ways of moving in the world with my body, with relationships, with emotion, with God said it's time for you to grow up. And so that started me on a journey. I started reading some different authors and thinking about things differently, that I would call it like a more holistic or a more intentional and holistic, full heart discipleship to Jesus. And that's when in that season, like I really took a turn into a deepening of my spirituality. And I've kind of just been on that trajectory ever since. And that led me into my workplace at Biola. For 2 decades, I worked there at Biola, and always seeking the Lord through that all until eventually I started my own business, even while I was working at Biola, just very, very part-time. But when I moved back up to Northern California after living 25 years in Southern California, just continuing to follow God and just letting God direct my steps, even like where we lived, what I would do. Not that I was like just deferring to God to like, just like a child, just tell me what to do, God, but an interactive, conversational, relational dynamic with my Lord and Savior Jesus by his Spirit, day in and day out. That is how I try to move in my life today, as if, which is true, God is always with me. And though there's a mystery in our faith, the Spirit of God with me, how does that work? Always in the different kinds of experiences, desolation, consolation, you're hearing God seems absent, all of that. But through it all, just learning to walk with God through all things. And now even in the work that I'm doing as a coach and team facilitator, growth facilitator mainly for leaders, and many of them, most of them with a faith commitment, this integrated view of growth that is about your character, who you are, your relationship with God and others, and then your leadership.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so needed. What inspired you to get into coaching and leadership work?
Well, as I mentioned, I spent a couple decades working at Biola University down in Southern California in student development. And towards the end of my tenure there, I came to realize, like, I have been coaching for almost 20 years, but I wasn't calling it that.
Yeah.
I was calling it developmental conversations, integrated personnel management and mentorship. And I wasn't calling it coaching, but then I learned about coaching, and then I was like, oh, this is what I've been doing. These life-transforming developmental conversations where I'm listening to the person and who they are and what they want to do, and helping them kind of become more aware of themselves, and out of that, how they're connecting with God and others and what they want to do in life. Those kind of conversations led me to embrace, like, okay, this is the 10,000 hours that I've been, that concept, like, this is what I've been doing. Yeah. And so just calling it that, naming it that, and starting my own business as what I call a growth coach, which is like a holistic coaching model in terms of those 3 primary tracks of personal leadership and spiritual development, integrating. That's what I mean by holistic.
Yeah.
Integrating those 3 tracks into the coaching conversation is what I do.
I love how God aligns us in life with, you had no idea way back when you were at Biola for 2 decades that he was setting you up for something so much more in your future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so true. So true.
What
And
did it look like early on? So it was kind of a big step of faith to walk away, to step away from a place that you knew and loved, and it was home to you for a really long time for both you and Sheila, and then to
yeah.
come to this small little county. What did the early
Yeah.
days of launching your leadership, all of it here?
Yeah. The early days were, I mean, it was a slow build, I would call it, over time. You know, God really led us up here some very specific, concrete, tangible ways. God moved us up here. And a tragedy happened a year after we had moved up here that helped us to understand why God was so intentional with us.
Yeah.
And that movement up here, and I was just building a coaching business, and over time, through connections and more referrals and just working with people, I think putting in the hours of kind of just real time helping people develop was kind of the start of things in moving up here. I think I'm answering your question.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I would just say it was a slow build, realizing that I had I had the skills. I'm calling it what it is now, and then just a steady working with people as they came my way, initiating with people, putting my name out there, and eventually, you know, it's only been in the last 2 years that I've developed the concept of the Leadership Hub, which is a space to gather and thrive for leadership teams, you know, church or religious organizations, nonprofits, business leaders with their teams could come to Sutter Creek and rent the space. It's a very, very nice kind of professional space for teams, for development, and I could help with some of that development in a coaching or consulting kind of role. But my heart, more than anything, was to create a space that teams could gather in the jewel of the mother lode, Sutter Creek.
And that's so true too, because I feel like teams and businesses, organizations, churches, people that are in leadership, they can meet in their place of business or their church, but there is something special about stepping away, and there's less distractions when you're in a place that's not so familiar.
Yes.
And so I love the location. So anyone that wants to book the hub, I'm going to give contact information in the notes and also have you share that. But I notice with you, because I've known you for a lot of years, I'm not surprised that you're doing coaching and that you're at the level that you are, because you are very intentional. I feel like you've always been very intentional, and also you're a great listener. I've been a part of groups where people have talked to you, have been pouring out their hearts and what's going on, and you just do a really, really good job. So I love that God has called you to this, that you've walked in obedience, and he's shown up. Look at him. Like, you're so busy. You have so many different things going on. Did you always know in life that you would be someone that would build community, that you would be in the people business?
I think from very early on, I think rooted in like our family valued connection with God, with others, but with one another. Even with the limits of that connection, I mean, we're all broken people. All of our connection with one another is impacted by brokenness or sin, disorder. And so even with that, you know, connection is the most powerful, it's the most powerful force in the universe. If you lean toward connection and seek to be healthy in that, it will always break through. Yeah. It's an unstoppable force. Yep. And so I think very early on in my family, it was instilled in me to value connection with God and others, you know, that vertical and horizontal, we need both God and others. And then in my family, and then just who I was, I think I had empathy in my heart or compassion in my heart toward others, and just it kind of naturally kind of flowed out of me. And then I think over time, I just kept letting what was flowing from me, I think, almost more naturally keep guiding my steps along the way. And I think, again, I was, as best as I could, seeking to walk through life with God. And, when we do that, God promises to direct our steps, and knowing us better than we can know ourselves, that he will, as a good father, as a good friend, as a good counselor, help us get to more of where we need to be in light of who we are.
Yeah.
So in one sense, I would say, I'd always had this tilt toward people and others, and an empathy or compassion towards others. And I think God was guiding me along the way into the spaces of like service or ministry, or being present with others, listening. I was a peer counselor in high school or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like, why did I ever do that? Well, it's because I wanted to help people and be an encouragement. And that's always been a part of who I am.
Yeah. I love that you touched on community, because I believe it's so powerful for people. We're not meant to walk this life alone. And I do believe that when people go through hard things, that they can tend to isolate, to separate themselves from people that they love, from strangers, like not wanting to be around people at all. And really, I think you have to take those steps to get yourself into community, even if it's hard, even, moving to a new area or a new space in life, like push through, get in community. It's the biggest deal. I wanted to ask you.
Can I say something about that real quick?
Yeah.
Just because as you were talking, I was just thinking, sometimes saying things in a little more extreme kind of language kind of awakens our thinking or our hearts. And I was, sometimes when I'm talking about what you're just talking about, like our need for connection and community, is that like when we isolate, we die.
Yeah.
When we isolate, we die. So to have that truth awaken us to, even if we're like crawling out of the mud to reach for the ankle of a friend.
Yeah. Do it.
Do it, because when we isolate, we die. We were made for connection.
Yeah.
And so, and of course we can, when I say die, I'm not just talking about physical death, though that's will happen if we isolate. There's all kind of research about that too. But even just emotionally, relationally, like spiritually, when we isolate, we die. So if you want to live, reach out.
Yeah.
Reach out.
And God, I feel like when we're isolated, I have many conversations about this, that Satan does his best work in isolation. He does his best work when we're by ourselves and our mind plays tricks on us. We go down paths that like aren't even true or real. And we need people that will snap us into reality and have good conversations. So yeah, I think that's a really, really important. Thanks for adding to that for sure. This is a little off topic, but I think it's fun. I want to know, tell our listeners, what's one fun or quirky fact about you that most people don't know, but maybe influences how you connect or lead people today?
Okay, let's see. Okay, so like I'm a dramatic person. Okay, so I like, if I could sing and do musical theater and somehow like act and do like be on stage more, even though when I'm doing it, literally, like I'm very nervous, and it like is almost uncomfortable sometimes how I feel when I'm doing it. I do feel like I just love doing things like that, like music and theater and acting and like interpretive dance. If I could do that more, and maybe in my 60s I'll integrate interpretive dance more in my life.
Hey, I've seen you and Sheila at VBS, Vacation Bible School. You guys killed it on the stage. I was like, who are these people?
Right.
Yeah, you got it.
Right. So I would just, I think doing more things that, and this is, I would say for everyone, that align with something we love, but are also just, it's stretching to keep doing it. What is that for me? What might that be for you? To find the places where you're like that, things you love but are stretching. Like I love food, and our family loves food. I would say that's another kind of a hobby. We like good food, finding good food, but it's not really stretching for me to enjoy good food. It's easy, lean right into that. But finding things that you enjoy, you feel like it makes your kind of heart, or like you like sing a little bit more, like who you are as a person, or like really kind of buzz, or like you're in the zone, but that are stretching.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Talk to us about the heart of coaching. What is your favorite part about being a coach? What are the moments that remind you, yes, this is why I do this?
Yeah, I think to me, at the heart of coaching is the connection. And it's not a connection that has real structure to it, meaning I'm there as the coach to be fully client-centered, or as fully client-centered as I can be, to be with them and focused on them and supporting, listening well, attuning to what they're saying, but also what they're not saying, and for the purpose of helping them, get from whatever point A is when they come into coaching to point B that they've defined, where they want to get, or where they want to go. And to me, like a significant part of that is what I would call like a fuller experience of one's heart and the expression of that through your body, versus a more truncated or disintegrated experience of life as a human person, doing whatever you're doing personally or professionally or in ministry or whatever. So I think at the heart of coaching to me is connection that promotes holistic, wholehearted, full-hearted growth or development.
Yeah, health. Yeah.
Yes. And whatever that person, however they're wanting to kind of define and give focus to that, my job is to build a connection, coming alongside, shouldering up next to that person in a way that helps them discover the strength, the insight, the perspective. A lot of times it's just right in them, helping them see what's already in them to help them move toward whatever it is they want to move towards, as defined in the coaching relationship. But always with that kind of that living more fully, more holistically, more in more healthy ways, into flourishing, thriving, as a person is what I'm hoping for every time I engage in a coaching connection. And that's a wonderful thing to hope for in a world that's so disintegrated, disordered, struggling, decaying, and at times to be an agent of connection that promotes that kind of growth and health is what I want to be about.
Yeah. And you said something in that description about that you're listening, that you're a good listener to what people are saying and also what they're not saying. And I think that's key too, because that's a good coach, because you can listen to someone share all the things, but when you identify like, you're not talking about this, you're avoiding this topic or whatever, then it gives you like more eyes to see, and you're just a more clear understanding. I like that. That was a really good description. What is the funniest or most surprising thing that you've learned through a coaching conversation or maybe a group experience?
Oh, the funniest. Let's see. we're all so human. I think we're all so
Amen.
human. We're just so human. And like I've had some very, very funny moments for me, even personally, as I'm coaching, where I'm like, I need to take a time out here to take care of some, I'm like, it's just like, yeah, like people, we're all just, we're so, yeah, I would just say just human. We're fragile. We're messy. And I think, yeah, I'm like thinking I'm hearing one thing. And when I check in, I'm not hearing, I'm not hearing it rightly at all. And I'm just like, oh man, I'm sorry. I was not hearing that rightly at all. Can you restate that? Like just, it's so, I'm limited. I'm doing the best to give what I can, to listen well, to attune to the person, what they're saying, what they're not saying, how they're expressing, if it's in like a video-based format, because most of my coaching is either virtual or audio coaching. I miss things.
Yeah.
I hear one thing and it wasn't what they said. And just being able to like own that and say, hey, I'm sorry, I missed that. Can you restate it? And I'm pretty good at getting things very clear usually the second time.
Sometimes you just need that extra, like, say this again. You put a lot of focus on authentic connection and community. Why is that so central to you?
Well, I would just say authenticity, and I would first say humility.
Yeah.
Accompanied with authenticity and then vulnerability, like those. And sometimes, humility and authenticity can kind of, they're like, can be seen very closely together. But that kind of authenticity and then vulnerability to me are like absolutely necessary ingredients for any kind of development. If you don't have that kind of humble, genuine posture of heart as someone, as a human person, and then you're willing to share that vulnerably with another, which is what happens in a coaching relationship. The coachee is willing to share what's actually going on, even if it's messy or very human and hard, that they're willing to be humble enough and then authentic enough and to share vulnerably with me. That is absolutely necessary to build the kind of connection that I think promotes holistic growth, like whole person development. And so that's why I would think to me, it's like, if that's not happening, you won't get very far in holistic development.
And with coaching, I know I've had some coaching in my past, but it's so easy to cheer people on and to celebrate the wins and what they're doing well. And I remember it being difficult for me to have harder conversations, because when you're living like shoulder to shoulder with someone and they're sharing all the things, that sometimes you have to have tough conversations and kind of point out things like, I think this might be an area for you to grow. And has that been hard? Is that hard for you to call people out, or are you pretty comfortable doing it all?
I think if I haven't built more of a safe, trusted, authentic connection with my client or with the person, it's much harder to have those kind of direct, what I would call like reality-based conversations that are for their good, but are hard. And so it's why I always consistently am seeking to build an authentic connection. Because that to me is the relationship that can hold now a full picture of reality, which is going to have good and bad, positive and negative, asset, deficit, grace and truth elements as a part of the conversation. because we all have needs for deep connection, grace, acceptance, celebration, conveying what's good and
Yep.
yes, well done, and for reality, for feedback, for insight, for sometimes confrontation, for when we fail, kind of the acknowledgement of that and forgiveness, and then acting, moving into more active development focused challenge.
Yeah.
We need grace, and the big categories I
Yeah.
would say are like we all need grace and truth
Yep.
over time, which is directly connected to one of my favorite authors, or two of my favorite authors, like John Townsend, Henry Cloud, are two of my favorite authors. I brought a book by Cloud today here that I was just thinking about, like the power of the other, like how much we need others, God, and other humans to be more fully who we want to be in life.
Yeah.
We need others. And what comes through others, connection with God and others, grace and truth.
Yeah.
And we need both.
We need both.
Yeah.
We need
Need
both.
both.
It's a really big deal. How do people get connected with you? So some people may feel a little intimidated by the idea of working with a coach or joining a growth community. What would you say to someone who's hesitant but curious?
I would say reach out. Just initiate a conversation.
Yeah.
With who, if you can't talk to the person you think you might want to meet with, talk to a friend. Here's what I'm thinking, and I'm nervous, or I don't know about it, or what do you think? I'm like, the next step toward a coaching relationship is a conversation with someone. Let's start with like a friend, or what I would call like a comrade, who can help encourage you now to take the next step, which is to just to have a conversation with the person you're wanting to meet with the coach. Most coaches do like a consult that where you're just kind of can talk to them and get to know them a little bit. And I have multiple clients who have not met with me, but they do initiate with me for a consult, and I don't charge for a consult. I'm just like, hey, let's talk about it. And maybe you might not be the best fit for working with me, but my goal in that consult is to get to know you, for you to get to know me a little bit, and maybe we can help you on the next step. So really, for anyone, like, just take the next step. If you can't talk to the coach, talk to someone else that gets you toward initiating that initial conversation. And that's a great, courageous step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's needed. People need that. Talk about Growth Huddles and your other coaching offerings. So I know you do one-on-one coaching, but what about the Growth Huddles, and what can people expect when they jump into that?
Yeah, if someone was to initiate with me and say, hey, I want to be a part of a huddle, I love what huddles bring, because you get both the connection with the coach, but also the connection with other fellow
people that are pursuing growth.
People pursuing growth.
Yeah.
I call them like comrades
Yeah.
in growth, or like just fellow participants in the growth experience, or collaborators for growth. For you to have the coach, but then also have these peers you're working with, to me, it is the most growth producing experience over time that I ultimately want my clients to really consider.
Yeah.
Is not just working with me individually, but eventually moving into some kind of a collaborative, group-based, team-based huddle space.
So with your group huddles, is this all via Zoom? So people are coming from different places, different communities, and they're gathering together via Zoom. And then my other question is, is there a certain amount of time? Is it a 10-week huddle? What does that look like? Is it a monthly?
Yes. So I have huddles could be in person if it was local, the people were local. And but most of my huddles are virtual because a lot of times I have people who are connected prior to even meeting with me, and they're like they have a good friend or a group of 2 or 3 people or a team of 4, like that they would want like a facilitated growth, connection, and conversation over time. So most of the huddles I do are virtual.
That's awesome.
And then I think the best kind of experience is when you have a group experience and then you have like a shorter individual coaching call with me as the coach to kind of catalyze your growth focus for whatever you're focused on for that duration of the coaching agreement in the huddle experience. So it's like it's virtual. A huddle is usually 3 to 4 people, including or then also with the facilitator. So a group of 3 or 4, it's virtual. Usually I like to do either 5-month or 10-month huddle commitments. It kind of depends on the group and what they're willing to do, but I usually do like a 5-month. You take a little month break, maybe over the holidays or in the summer when people are traveling more, and then you re-engage for the next 5-month cycle. So that's how I do my huddles, and the kind of the amount of what the commitment is either a 5-month or a 10-month commitment with a break. If it's 10-month, you take a little break over the holidays, but it has those elements of over time. You're in a virtual group with 2 or 3 other people, group experience, individual over time. To me, that's been the most growth producing context that I've seen in my clients more than anything else.
Yeah. So your life work is helping people grow, helping people build community. And I wanted to ask you, for you, what keeps you inspired? That's a lot to have on you that you're constantly pouring out. So what keeps you inspired? Are there any books? You mentioned The Power of the Other, but any books, other books, practices, or small daily rituals that help you stay grounded?
Yes. So there's multiple questions there. So I think the 2 books that I always recommend to anyone I'm coaching with are People Fuel by John Townsend and Changes That Heal by Henry Cloud. I brought this book, The Power of the Other by Henry Cloud, because we're talking about connection in our conversation here. But I always recommend those 2 books for ongoing growth and development. I'm also always personally going back to those 2 books and the concepts there. Changes That Heals, like a character-focused book. People Fuel is all about connecting with people so that you can grow and develop and flourish like you want to flourish. But on a practical level, I think the way that we stay healthy is paying attention to our daily rhythms. So what am I doing today that's helping me be a better, healthier person? And that is like how I'm building my day. Do I have time in it that's more reflective rather than just do? Where is God? When am I listening to the Lord throughout my day? When does that happen? I use the morning times are really important for me, and just sitting and kind of trying to like just listen to God and be present. There's not a lot of complexity to it. It's that. Part of that sometimes is me integrating the Word, the Scriptures, and but it's more about me ultimately turning my heart to the Lord who's with me, and just giving that time to that daily. I also try to have at least a 30-minute conversation with a comrade, a friend, that's growth focused. So that means I'm not just talking about the stuff of the day or what's happening out in the world.
Awesome, Matthew.
I'm talking about myself and what I'm thinking and how I am feeling about what's happening out in the world with my family. I try to have a 30-minute conversation every day with someone who's a comrade in my life, like my spouse, Sheila. Sometimes that's her, but sometimes our paths don't cross, and we're just, getting like 10, 15 minutes about what the day, I got to take Jaron to basketball practice. I might miss you, that kind of thing. So a lot of times it's Sheila, but I also have multiple other, really 3 or 4 other people that I'm connecting with, that I'm attuning to my own heart, and I'm trying to share what's actually on my heart. So just practicing what we've talked about in terms of humility or authenticity, self-authenticity, and then vulnerability, sharing what I'm actually experiencing. I don't feel alone in life. The reason that is because I'm trying to connect with God and at least one other person in a meaningful way every day.
I'm proud of you for doing that, because I feel like Brian and I have been in ministry for 28 years, and you're so focused on people, and you become really good at asking questions and listening to people and hearing their heart, where they're at. But what you're saying is you have conversations with people where you do talk about yourself and how you're feeling. And it's interesting. We have a friend, it's a mutual friend. His name's Matt, but he's very interrogative, and he asks all kinds of questions. And so several years ago, we were at it was a celebration of life, and he started asking questions about us, about ministry, about our kids. And I was so overwhelmed by it, because it's so not the normal, thing. And so I thought, that's kind of weird. I don't really like that. I feel uncomfortable that someone's asking me all these questions. But when you're in that role that you ask people questions and you listen, it's hard to be on the other end. So I'm really proud of you for doing that.
Yeah. And well, thank you
for
saying
that's
that.
A big deal.
I appreciate you saying that. Honestly, I'm like, I am desperate for it. I cannot hold the cares of others if others aren't holding mine. How can I? And so I'm like, I have to be practicing what I am coaching, which is building authentic connection through humble self-assessment and then vulnerability with the others around me on a regular basis. Otherwise, I feel like it's like water, it's like air, it's what I need in order to live.
I think it's what we all need. I need to do better at that. Will you close us out with a word of encouragement for listeners?
I would say if you want to become different in any area of your life, think about how you could enlist the power of the other in order to do so. If you want to become different, change, grow, heal, thrive, how could you bring someone else? Invite someone else alongside you to help, because that's what we all need. And so I would just encourage you all as listeners to think about how you could do that.
That's so good, Matthew. Thank you so much for sharing and being here with us today. I want to ask you how people can get in touch with you. I will add your email, website, whatever you give me, I'll put it in our show notes. But is there one way that you would suggest for people is the best way to get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is really via email. So it's growtrack3 @gmail.com, growtrack3@gmail.com. That's my email address. That's the best way to connect with me. You can find me online at matthewhooper.org, and also the hub at the Track 3 Leadership Hub.com if you want to find more information about me, and you can contact me through those avenues as well. But really the email is the best way. And I'd love to hear from anyone and kind of help them along their way in the journey. I recognize that if you reach out to me like that, you're taking a great, courageous step. get what you need. And my goal would be to help you find what you need to move toward what you want.
Yeah. That's great.
In life.
Yeah. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
being here on the Daily Pour. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining the Daily Pour podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you never miss what's next. And don't forget, the Daily Pour is on YouTube. We'll be showing up on video soon, so head over, hit that subscribe button, and be the first to see when we go live with new content. If you're enjoying the show, please take a moment to leave us a review. It really helps others discover the podcast. And if you know someone who'd be encouraged by this conversation, go ahead and share the episode with a friend. Thanks for listening. See you next time, my friend.